It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory. Chris. Chris's crazy theory.
I'm glad someone was at least thinking this channel. It saves me having to do
it. Perhaps overthinking. This is a bit of a long one, so if you're watching at home, get a drink, get comfortable, relax. But here's my theory with this. So starting with slide 1. Yes, thank you. So there is total balance in nature. In physics, it's Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In spirituality, it's yin and yang, right? In, the real world, the practical world, hot and cold. And then, of course, on a universal level, it's matter and antimatter, balance. So up until now, it seemed to me that death was merely trying to right an imbalance, starting from when Alex subverted his plans on Flight 180. All of the victims of the first 2 movies were related, a point that you were not very happy about in the second movie because it seemed a little bit forced, those connections. But
yeah, you could feel the crowbar sort of...
Exactly. But taking it as the story that we're given, there were connections. Now this is different. So I was trying to think of why death is so upset still if, these kids had nothing to do with it and it's 6 years later. So then I started to think about the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect for you kids at home is a theory that the tiniest changes can impact the greater world around you. A butterfly flaps its wings and causes a tornado sometime down the road in another part of the world. I think what happened is that after the first movie, there was all these changes that resulted. Even though a lot of the people from the first movie ended up dying later on, every time they interacted at a store, bought coffee,
they just spoke to the next person straight after it. It wasn't meant to happen.
Exactly. It changed the timeline in imperceptible ways because they weren't supposed to be there to interact with those people. So if you talk to a coffee store owner and now he's 2 minutes later from having talked to you, now he avoids a car accident that he would have been in, it just keeps spiraling. So I think that things have gotten out of hand for death. Death is a part of nature and it has to abide within its constructs. Death, as we've seen in this movie, it can't go back in time and change things, or it would have changed it to get rid of Alex before he had a chance to mess things up. Also, Clear survived in the mental institution for over a year. She only died when she came out of the mental institution. So death couldn't get to her there. So death has limits. Okay. So that's important for my next part of my theory. Now, this part is not crazy. I think it's pretty obvious that Tony Todd, playing the character of Bloodworth, is a version of death personified. I think we've seen that in the first 2 movies. He
only appears in voiceovers in this one.
Yes.
So when they're going on the roller coaster, he's the voiceover in the speaker, as they're guiding people along, and then in the tube, he's a
subway
conductor.
Right, exactly. And in both cases, he was stalking them, these teenagers, right before a lot of them were killed. So I think he's definitely death personified, and there's a reason why he was doing the voiceover. It wasn't just to give him a speaking role. It's because he is death. And why is he so angry? This was the ride that the kids died on. It's no coincidence that the ride, looks like this. And I think even the name of the ride is called the Devil's Flight. So there's a reason for this. This is not a coincidence. Death is vindictive and he's angry. But why is he angry at these kids? So if he's just...
I was angry at these kids at the start of the movie.
Well, I mean, he's certainly...
I think we'll just establish that was the whole point, that you're meant to get angry at the kids so that you can watch them.
Well, maybe you're involved.
Annihilated.
Well, maybe you're an accomplice. No, but but he is angry at these kids. And I do understand why, but why specifically if they have nothing to do with the whole reason he's mad that his plan was subverted and that the butterfly effect is out of control? Why is he targeting teenagers in general? So my theory is, one, that teenagers, first of all, were the same age of Alex, the person who started this whole mess. Alex is already dead, so he can't do anything more about that. So just by virtue of them being the same age as Alex, they're a good target. Also, what's one thing about teenagers that we know is that they tend to be invincible in their mind and very brazen. And I picked the word brazen for a reason. But if you notice, some of the deaths coming up were when characters like this are basically flaunting that they just survived right before the moment of their death. And there's a reason why death is picking people like this. And also this character, same thing. Right before he dies, he avoids the fireworks and he says, I'm not going to die. He's flaunting it. And death hates when teenagers are brazen like this. So I think he is specifically targeting teenagers for this reason, because of their brazenness. Now, I picked the word brazenness because brazenness is defined as disrespectful boldness, a brazen disregard for the rules. The death, as personified by Tony Todd and Bloodworth, is restricted by rules. So when these teenagers flaunt the rules, that's why he targets them. So that is my theory. Death is vindictively targeting teenagers for their brazenness.
I like Death already. He's not wrong.
And maybe he's got a point.
There we go.